One Piece chapter 977 brought back a debate that has been within the One Piece community for a pretty long time now, and now it's kind of resurfaced and has been reignited, and that is, should Carrot become the next Straw Hat crew member? Now, the most recent chapter kind of reignited this debate because a major plot point of that chapter was the Straw Hats finally getting back together. We see them all together finally. After so long, you had the crew been split up since Dressrosa, and then when they met back up at Zoe, Sanji was in there, and then even when they finally are in the same place at Wano, they were all at different parts of the country. So now, last chapter, or the last two chapters really, we finally saw them together, but last chapter, we were expecting an image of just one image of them all in one image and together finally, right? And we did get that with Jinbei back. Everybody was welcoming him. He's so happy. He's smack dab right in the center, and right with him, smack dab right in the center, was Carrot. So a lot of people saw that and it's like, oh, this is Oda giving us a big hint in that image. In the official translation for the English version, we saw only all the Straw Hats and Carrot. So she was the only non-Straw Hat in that picture, and people were like, right there, what more do you want, right? That's like major hint plus all the little hints that Oda has been dropping, which we would talk more about later in the video. And in my manga chapter review, I said, hey, this is definitely a big symbolism here. Oda knows what he's doing by drawing her with as the only non-Straw Hat member. And but I also said she doesn't show up for the rest of the chapter. And when they're really highlighting the Straw Hats, she doesn't get shown at all. So I think that's very important to note. But upon further review, there is one more element we have to reinspect, and that is, if you look at the official translation for the Spanish version, all the way on the right-hand side is Wanda. So Carrot is not the only non-Straw Hat in that picture. Now, it doesn't, you might say that's such a small thing, it doesn't really matter, but it does take away the symbolism a little bit. If your argument was she's the only non-Straw Hat in that picture, it's not true because Wanda was in it too. And now you can make the argument Oda was just kind of depicting what was happening on the ship. Obviously, Wanda doesn't know Jinbei, so she's just standing off to the side. Carrot interacted with Jinbei, had a lot of moments with Jinbei in Whole Cake Island. That's why she was very excited to see him, and she's a very enthusiastic person, so she jumped right at Jinbei, gave him a big hug, and that's why she was smack dab in the center. But I do think it's still a big hint that Oda's kind of driving a little bit. He knows what he's doing when he's drawing all the Straw Hats and having Carrot center stage with Jinbei there. So I think it is important to know that, but also, like I mentioned in my chapter review, when he's really highlighting the Straw Hats with each of them getting a battle image, with you got Luffy, Jinbei, Zoro, and then Robin, Brook, Sanji, Frankie, and then even the Weak Trio get their own little image box. Carrot is nowhere to be seen. As a matter of fact, we don't see her for the rest of the chapter. So my first question with her is, where is she right now? Because we saw Shishilian go from the Straw Hat ship onto Law ship, and he said, hey, I'm going to go and lead the Minks, and he will likely lead them in one of the roundabout routes, while you have some of the Scabbards and Law going all the way around the mountain through the submarine to enter to the back way, and you have Kid and Luffy going straight through, charging ahead, being the idiots, the diversion, the distraction that they are. So if Carrot went with the Minks, that's huge because she's not only not going to be in the background, she's not going to be seen for many chapters, I would say, because we're going to focus on Kid and Luffy going straight ahead and getting the initial fights, right? So maybe even Carrot, if Carrot's with the Straw Hats, she might not get a major fight or highlighted right away, but she's going to at least be in the background, and you're going to see her maybe get some speech, some dialogue in there, and see her interact with the Straw Hats a little more. So whether or not Carrot went with the Minks or stayed with the Straw Hats is a major point we should be looking at within the next chapter or so. But to really break down and analyze whether or not Carrot should become the next Straw Hat crew member, the next Nakama, we have to look at how the crew is built and every single section of their dynamics and their breakdown and their recruitment and all that, right? So let's just break everything down and see where Carrot fits in and if it makes sense for her to join the crew. So first, the crew is very diverse, right? You have Luffy, the captain, a rubber man, and then you have other devil fruit users with Robin and Brook, and even them, they're both paramecia and super unique. Robin, also the only person who could read a poneglyph, and Brook is a skeleton, so his design is super unique. Robin has a super unique backstory, right? Very diverse. They also have Chopper with a zone type fruit, but he's an animal with a human fruit, so another diverse crew member. The only people that are like just really human are the East Blue people with Sanji, Nami, and Zoro. But even Sanji is a prince. Nami, of course, is just a kind of a normal person. Usopp, let's not forget. Almost forgot the god there. My bad, guys. And then Zoro, we might see his more lineage explained in Wano here, because we saw with the SBS stuff, Shimosuke, the relationship with that. So we might get more on that. But like, the humanizing characters. I feel like Oda had to introduce some of those guys early on, especially, and they've been with the crew for so long that you kind of know them. But at least, like, once they got into Grand Line, the people who have joined are very unique. So you have Jinbei that joined as a fishman. Frankie is a human, but he's a cyborg. So even the Grand Fleet, if you look, it's all sorts of different races. You have Idio, the long arm, Blue Gilly is long leg. You have Tontadas, giants. So it's a very diverse group of people representing the Straw Hats. Carrot checks this box as well. She's a mink. They don't have a mink on their main crew or their Grand Fleet. So either whether or not she joins a Grand Fleet, which a lot of people think she could do, or joins the main crew, she checks this box of diversity, right? She helps them fit their diversity quota for the Straw Hat Company. But yeah, so she definitely checks this box of diversity. She'll add another race and element to the crew for sure. Next, the strength of the crew, very strong crew. They're not super big. If you don't count the Grand Fleet, we're focusing on the main crew now. There's super small crew. There's not a lot of people on board. So as a unit, they have to be very strong if they're going to be the pirate crew of the future Pirate King. So you have Luffy, super strong. Everybody, even the weak trio can carry their own, right? You have Usopp and Nami and Chopper. The weak trio, they could easily handle fodder and get their individual fights. Usopp has Pop Greens, unlock observation hockey. Nami is actually super strong right now with Zeus, so her attack power is off the charts. But even like physical combat wise, she could take a hit or two without being like just utterly destroyed. I think people overplayed this whole Nami as a glass cannon like element where she'll get one-shotted by Smoker. I think she could hold her own, okay? She's been like fighting for a long time, and post-time skip you saw she could handle her. She has fighting stamina, and when Wanda attacked her on Zoe, she blocked it and she was fine, right? So those guys, they could take damage and they could fight, and even the weaklings can like hold their own. And Carrot checks off this box as well. She's a mink, natural born fighter. Even though she's young, she could easily take care of fodder and handle stronger people as well. The introduction to Carrot was her fighting against Zoro, right? So right off the bat, when Oda introduced us to Carrot, he wanted us to know she's not a weak person, all right? So if she was weak, Zoro would have cut her up real easily. But instead, we see her dodge Zoro's sword, jump in the air. We get right off the bat, she's strong. And in Whole Cake Island, we see her easily handling fodder. So she's got Electro in her in the gloves, the battle mittens that she has, that she can scratch people with, shock people with. Of course, she's a bunny mink, so she's super quick, fast, major hops. Carrot could jump out the gym. She's got a vertical of like 46 Michael Jordans. So a lot of physical ability with Carrot. And then, of course, her Sulong form really just ups that everything to another level. We didn't really see her battle power with that, but her agility and speed all upgrades to another level. She could pretty much fly. She jumps off the ship. She's so fast she could just kind of glide. Of course, Sulong form, only a full moon. Now there's more moons. in the One Piece world, so it could happen more often than it was if it was in our world. But it's a special technique that can be unlocked. But even in her base form, super strong. So checks off the strength box. Now, age is another thing I want to bring your attention to. Now, you may not think this is very important because the Straw Hats are very diverse in age. But if we break down like their groups, you could kind of see they're grouped a little bit. So you have the youngest is Chopper right now, 17, and then you have Usopp and Luffy at 19, Nami at 20, Zoro and Sanji at 21. And then it takes a major jump. You have Robin at 30, Frankie at 36, Jinbei is 46 years old, and Brook is like the exception. He is 90 years old, but I think mentally he's not 90 years old, all right? He's not like he's out here like, oh my god, you damn millennials, taking everything for granted. It's not like Brook is a boomer, okay? Brook is still like your middle-aged dad mode, pervert, funny guy, right? He's got a lot of dad jokes. So I like to think that Brook mentally is younger. I think you would just take those 50 years out, because although he lived those 50 years, he didn't do anything. He just floated around and he was all by himself. So I guess it's that like a philosophical question in a way. If you don't experience anything for 50 years, do you really grow old? Especially if your body is not growing old. He's a skeleton, so you can't really like feel like his skin wrinkling up or him getting weaker or anything like that. That's a philosophical thing in a way, but I consider Brook like 40. Now this is interesting because if you consider Brook like 40, Jinbei joining would make him the oldest new Straw Hat crew member, and by far he's already the most experienced, right? So we don't even have to look at it age-wise, but Jinbei joining would make him bring the Straw Hats the most experienced person. Of course, that adds more crew dynamics. Robin, if you think about it, Jinbei is the first ever person she could realistically like have a smart conversation with. She knows all this stuff about history and poneglyphs, but the rest of the crew, while she loves them and has a lot of fun with them, she can't really talk to them. Nobody's really gonna pay attention to them that much about this stuff. She can't really explain it that well. But Jinbei, they can actually have a good conversation about history and what she learned so far. So that's a new dynamic. I think he can add a lot more screen time to the older group because he's within that age range, and now you have another person to add to that, whereas the younger people, especially with the super young, you have Chopper, Usopp, and Luffy are always goofing around. Zoro and Sanji are like the same age and they're always butting heads. So even though each crew member has relationships and dynamics with each other, it is split by age groups too. So talking about crew dynamics, Carrot joining. Carrot would be the youngest. She's currently 15. So I think this like kind of helps the argument a little bit because number one, you have Oda talking back in a day where you're gonna have two crew members join in a succession, right? Quickly, because it's been so long since somebody joined. So now you have Jinbei joining. Carrot joining would realistically come right after Wano. So it'd be pretty quick right after each other. And now to help push the argument forward, it would be really interesting if you have like a super experienced, the kind of oldest person of the crew joining with Jinbei, and then a youngest member with Carrot who has no experience at all. So I think that kind of helps the argument a little bit that Carrot will be joining because it's super interesting and adds another story element, funny element to help push the One Piece story forward. Another thing with crew dynamic is we did see Carrot interact with the crew a lot during Whole Cake Island. Of course, her and Chopper has the age dynamic I mentioned, where Chopper's not the youngest anymore. Especially we saw pre-time skip. Chopper had a lot of like, these guys are always helping me out. I gotta be stronger. I'm a pirate now. I can't always be holding them back. Even though he was scared, he had a lot of Chopper moments where he was trying to be brave and like not slow people down. And now he's like an older brother figure, right? So he has somebody he could look after and care for and teach the ropes to with Carrot. He's Bropper, as she calls him. So that's another dynamic she has with Chopper. We saw her interacting with the crew. She had a lot of fun with everybody and fit right in. It wasn't like she stuck out or anything. She just felt like another crew member to me. So crew dynamic wise, I think she fits in really, really well. And now we're going to get into some sections where it's kind of like, I don't know if Carrot checks those boxes. Maybe this is why a lot of people don't think she's going to join. So first off, very important, crew responsibility, right? So if you're joining Luffy's crew, a lot of you have a responsibility that you fulfill, right? Especially we saw before the time skip, the people joining were specialized in something that Luffy was looking for. So Zoro first mate was just, he needed a friend, right? Then Nami navigator, very important. He learned he was a navigator and he's like, hey, join my crew, I need a navigator. Usopp, very different. Eventually he became the sniper and showcased his skills and was very critical to the crew. Robin is an archaeologist. At first we didn't think that was that important, but as we learned about the poneglyphs, she's critical. She's probably the most important member of, one of the most important members of the crew. I guess Sanji, they need him to cook in a way, and Nami, without her, they might not be able to navigate. But without Robin, you can't find the One Piece because she could read the poneglyphs and nobody else can, right? So she's very important to the crew. Frankie, the shipwright, you needed him. And Brook is a musician, not a super important role, but Luffy was talking about that for so long, so it was foreshadowed for a very long time. And then Jinbei as a helmsman, you really didn't learn about that for a very long time. Fishman Island, we didn't learn about that at all. But when he declared to Big Mom he was going to join the Whole Cake Island, we saw his skills as a helmsman. And now even in the most recent chapter, Frankie mentioned, hey, this is super great. Somebody could finally take advantage and use the Sunny to its full potential with a terrific helmsman in Jinbei. And now Carrot, her crew responsibility would be the lookout. Now, this is where it gets kind of questionable because a lot of people say, hey, is this really a responsibility or position that the Straw Hats really need, right? But I will say Carrot checks off this box because Oda really emphasized that she's good at being a lookout, right? So if he didn't really care that she was a good lookout, he would show her once looking through the binocular, but she did that so many times during Whole Cake Island that I think he's trying to push forward like, hey, this is something she's really good at, especially with her skills. Another thing with the crew and their responsibilities, they're all super good at their jobs, right? So even if you look at like Usopp as a sniper, he's an incredible sniper. Brook as a musician, something, you know, kind of nonchalant. He's Soul King Brook, all right? He Bink Sake, Bone to the Wild, great hits. Brook filled stadiums, okay? He's probably already the best musician in the One Piece world, okay? And obviously Nami is a navigator. There's a kind of assumption that whatever their responsibility is, they will become the best at it. So even if you look at Luffy as the captain becoming Pirate King, Zoro become the best swordsman, and then it's assuming that everybody else will become the best they are at that. And even Jinbei showed that he was an incredible helmsman. So Carrot, can she be the best lookout? You can't really measure it, but at the very least, she's very, very good at it, right? So the highest spot, she could one jump get up there, and even higher, actually. She could just hop right super high and get the highest view and see what's happening. And you know, Carrot is good for the eyes, so her eyesight, I'm sure, is incredible. She has huge ears that she could probably hear things better with. So her being a lookout, she's very, very good at it. Some people don't accept this as a position, but I think it was emphasized a lot, not only that she was doing it, but she's also very good at it. And the responsibility doesn't have to be something like a super important, like a navigator. It could be something more chill, like a sniper or a musician. And a lookout, I think it makes sense. So I'm giving Carrot the check for this box. Next up, another super important element of Straw Hat crew members are their dreams, right? So every single Straw Hat has a dream that they want to accomplish. And not just a dream, it's a dream that requires them to go onto the Grand Line and explore and take a venture, and in a way entrust their dream to Luffy because they believe that going on this venture with him as the captain will help them accomplish their dream. If you look at Zoro becoming the best swordsman, he has to go and travel and fight stronger people. Usopp becoming a brave warrior at sea. Nami wants to draw the world map. Jinbei reunite. There's some that are like, why are you joining Luffy for this dream? But it makes sense in terms of you want to explore and you trust Luffy, right? So those are like two key elements that has to make sense with their dream. Because if their dream was like, oh, I want to be able to do 10,000 push-ups, like you don't need to join Luffy to go exploring the Grand Line to try to accomplish your dream. You can just work out at home. Do the One Punch Man workout. Eventually you'll probably be able to do that. But your dream has to align with Luffy's adventure, and you have to trust him as a captain to be able to do that. So Brook, if you think he wants to reunite with Laboon, why not just go back? But he also has the other dream of his crewmates of going all the way around the world and going back to Laboon. That was their original mission, and that's something he wants to accomplish. So another thing with the dreams is some of them have kind of like multiple dreams. They have one clear dream, but like other dreams as well. This especially applies to Usopp, who also wants to become a real sniper king, wants to visit Elbaf, and along with his initial dream, which was becoming a brave warrior at sea. Even if you have multiple dreams, it all kind of aligns into one. And then another thing to note is a lot of them actually have dreams shared with other people. So Zoro with Kuina, even Luffy, his dream is not really shared with anybody, but his proclamation was kind of a way to show both Shanks and Sabo and Ace that he was really serious about becoming a pirate and something he was gonna do, right? So it's not a shared dream, but it was, shared with other people for a purpose. Usopp wants to be a brave warrior just like his dad. Nami's the only one kind of like that's her own dream, right? Making a world map. But she told her sister and Belmira-san that was her dream, so other people know it in a way. Frankie wants to make a great ship just like Tom did. And then who else? Sanji with Zeph, Robin with the people from O'Hara, Brook with the rest of his crewmates, Jinbei with Fisher Tiger. So they're all shared dreams. So where exactly does Carrot fit in with her dream here? So obviously she hasn't had a clear moment where her dream has been emphasized and thrown in our face completely. But I think there is a path here. So first of all, her dream could be exploration, and that easily connects to exploration because that is literally her dream, to explore the world. And that was emphasized because that was the reason she followed them to Whole Cake Island. So that could be her dream. It's not something crazy, but it doesn't have to be, right? Like Usopp just wants to be brave, and Carrot could just want to see the world, and this could easily fit back in with traveling with Luffy. Now, a bigger thing to tie in here could be her like side dream. There could be a main dream of Pedro's dream, which Pedro and the Minx have stated that they want to see the dawn of the new world. And we don't know what that is because it hasn't been explained yet. But with Pedro dead, this could be a dream passed on to Carrot, because that's something he said to Carrot. He's like, hey, you're going to understand later once you understand what this dawn of the new world is, why I'm doing this and sacrificing myself, because I believe the Straw Hats are the ones who will bring the dawn of the new world. So that could be something that is a shared dream for Carrot and the Minx, and something that gets explained post Wano, and that could be her moment. It's like, this is what I need to accomplish. I'm going with you guys to accomplish this dream. Also, I want to see the world as well, so that kind of helps in a way. So I think Carrot checks this box technically in a way. It's not very clear or established yet, but then at the same time, none of those dreams were clearly established at first. It's only at the end when they were joining, or some of them, or like Zoro right away we found out, it's like, oh, this guy wants to be the greatest swordsman, whatever. So I think there's a chance later to explain. So this is a easy pathway for this to go. So I'm gonna check this box right off for now. Now the next thing a lot of people are pointing out is the sad backstory. Now all the Straw Hats in a way have their sad backstory. Even Luffy, I guess in a way he grew up with brothers. I mean, his dad wasn't around too much, but the rest of the crew we'll look at, right? So Zoro, Kuina dies. Usopp, his mom dies. Nami, super sad backstory. Robin, Frankie, Brook, Jinbei, even kinda. So they all have a pretty sad backstory. But for me, this isn't really a requirement. I think it builds onto something else. But for Carrot, we don't really get much of a flashback for Carrot. We just kind of see her learning. Anything is just her and Pedro. Now, a lot of people pointed out this Whole Cake Island was kind of Carrot's sad backstory. She saw her mentor die right in front of her, blow himself to bits, right? And that's probably more of a sad backstory than Usopp or Zoro. Okay, maybe don't get mad at me. Maybe it's not as sad, but it's definitely not less sad, right? I think that's pretty sad. It's not like her past, but she's 15 years old. How much do you want her to experience so far? I think it's not a necessary requirement for somebody to have a sad backstory. If you really wanted that as a box, I guess Carrot doesn't check it. But in terms of me, that sad backstory is just character development, right? Or like suffering a loss or something that prompts them to like do more. And I think Carrot checks that box. But in terms of character development, that's something I'm a little iffy on, right? So the sad backstory, I think, really just builds into the Straw Hats' character development. When we get a nice fleshed out backstory, we find out where they came from, how they grew up, their motives, why they want to accomplish a certain dream, how they're gonna grow as a person as the story progresses. That's what the backstory accomplishes and contributes to. So for Carrot, we have that whole Pedro thing, and then what she suffered on Zoe as well. So I think that could be a building point for her character, but I also don't think she's gotten enough shine overall for us to really get to know her as a character. We do know she has a very bubbly personality. She has a lot of gags that could be easily implemented, like her love for Carrot, and if you pat her on the head, she gets super happy, and her zero knowledge of the world that she thought lightning was an electro. So a lot of gags that could work, but I still don't think we know her motivations enough, how she responds to different situations. She needs more shine, in my opinion, but that could easily come post Wano and could be built off more later on. So in my opinion, if you look at like Frankie or Brooke, they didn't really get a lot of shine. They got their backstories fleshed out, but as members, I don't think they got a lot of shine compared to the other members who have been with the crew for so long. Even Robin, when she first joined, we didn't see her that much in Alabasta, but then she got in this lobby in Water 7, really showcasing her character and everything. But Brooke and Frankie got their backstories, but I feel like they needed more moments. And Oda gave that to us post time skip. Frankie got his Senor Pink epic moment, and then Brooke got so many moments in Whole Cake Island. So I think easily we know, as far as we know Carrot, I don't think we know her enough. So character development, I'm not going to check that box, but I think she has plenty of time to develop more throughout the story as we go beyond Wano. So I think there's a lot of room to improve, but there is a pathway to that. And now finally, we're going to look at the recruitment process for the Straw Hats. Luffy doesn't have a lot of high expectations or requirements. Pretty much if you're a cool dude and you're a good person, he'll let you in, right? But not a lot of people accept him. Actually, Luffy gets rejected a lot. Carrot didn't get recruited off the bat. She kind of hopped on the ship herself, and there's been no signs of Luffy wanting to recruit her at all. As a matter of fact, that's another thing to character development. I don't think the two of them hasn't had enough interaction and screen time to really develop a friendship to the point where Luffy's like, you gotta come with us, right? But it's different cases, right? So in the beginning, if you really look at it, it's Luffy asks you first, and then you say no, but then you experience a battle, and then you get recruited. Carrot has been with them for a very long time. I think the recruitment process has changed a little bit as time has gone on. Like Jinbei was asked to join all the way back in Fisherman Island, and then he went through this whole ordeal and then just joined like 300 chapters later. Robin just hopped on the ship herself. Frankie was somebody we didn't think was joining at all. He was introduced as a villain, and kind of like his friends had to ask Luffy to like make him join, right? So there's different processes, and I think post Wano, Carrot's pathway to joining is really this Dawn of the New World thing, where if you get that explained, you can either have her and say, hey, Luffy, I want to join. This is something I need to accomplish. I want to join you. And by that point, they've been through so many battles, I think Luffy would say yes. Another option is, maybe it's the Minx. Say, hey, Luffy, Carrot, she has a lot of potential. She loves exploration. Can you bring her with you? And he'll be like, yes. And then she'll be like, iffy. And then I want to stay with the Minx, whatever. I love my family. And they'd be like, all right, come on, get it over with already, right? So almost like Frankie's style, right? So you have like Robin's style or Frankie's style that he could join, or maybe they're just like, hey, we've been through so much, and then Kara's like saying goodbye and she's too shy to like ask, and then just like Usopp style. It's like, come on, we're friends already. Get over here. Let's go. Right? So I think there's a lot of different paths she could be recruited as well, and easily I think it makes sense. So now ultimately, before I started making this video, even I was thinking like, if Kara joins the crew, I'm happy with it. I think Oda's done enough like foreshadowing and like emphasis on the character for it to make sense. But also, if she doesn't join, I don't really mind it. I don't care. I think it makes sense either way. But after going through and breaking down and doing some research on every single element of the Straw Hats, I want Carrot as a crew member. I think it makes sense. She's strong. She's like adds a lot of dynamics to the crew. I think her backstory, there's a lot more potential for character development, and I think she adds more story element as well if we keep learning about the Minx goal of the dawn of the new world. That's something the Straw Hats is now carrying on as a group, because they're all going to help each other accomplish each other's goals, right? That's what this adventure is. They're all hopping on one ship to accomplish dreams together as friends, and they support each other through everything. So ultimately, I do want Carrot to join the crew. I think she should, and I think it makes a lot of sense. But what do you think? There's a lot of, differing opinions about this. Especially recently, the debate has been kind of firing up a little bit. So let me know what you think. Comment below. Thank you guys for watching. Hit the like button, hit the bell, subscribe. More videos definitely coming soon. I'm loving doing this. I'm having a lot of fun. But thanks, and I'll see you guys next time. Later.